Yes, we are live, Summiya.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to Education World Facebook Live discussion. Is the Common University Entrance Test in the National Interest, pros and cons. Let me begin by introducing our expert panel this evening. We have with us Dr. Sudha Acharya. Dr. Sudha is the chairperson of the National Progressive Schools Conference, an association of over 200 leading CBSE affiliated schools. Dr. Acharya is also principal of the ITL Public School, Dwarka, Delhi. Welcome, Dr. Acharya. Our next panelist is Avnita. Avnita is a very highly respected K-12 education leader. She's director principal of the RN Podar School, Mumbai. Welcome, Avnita.
Hi, good. Glad to be here.
Ditto. Glad to have you with us. Dr. Abha Habib is associate professor of physics at Miranda House, Delhi. She's also a former office bearer of the Delhi University Teachers Association. Welcome, Dr. Habib. A pleasure to have a higher education perspective with us.
Thanks for inviting us on such an important issue.
Our next panelist is Roshan Gandhi. Roshan is the CEO of the City Montessori School, the world's largest school with over 56,000 students in 19 campuses across Lucknow. Roshan, always a pleasure to have you with us on Education World.
Thank you so much for having me.
Our next panelist is Kulbhushan Sharma. Kulbhushan is the president of the National Independent Schools Alliance, which has a membership of over 1 lakh budget private schools across the country. Kulbhushan ji, warm welcome to you.
नमस्कार सुमैया जी, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद इस इम्पोर्टेंट इशू पे ये डिबेट रखने के लिए और हम सबको इनवाइट कर।
Thank you. And representing a very important stakeholder this evening is Abhinandan Adhikari, who is representing the students community. Abhinandan is a class 12 student of the St. Anandram Jaipuria School, Ghaziabad. Great to have you all with us and looking forward to a stimulating discussion. Before we deep dive, let me just set a context for today's discussion for our viewers. On March 22nd, the UGC chairman Jagdish Kumar made an out of the blue announcement that from academic year 22-23, all 45 central universities will admit students into undergrad courses solely on the basis of the Common University Entrance Test, which I'll henceforth refer to as CUET, and that no weightage will be given to the class 12 board exams. This unexpected announcement, has come at the fag end of the academic year of 2021-22, as millions of students across the country are about to write their class 12 boards next month. And it has stirred on honestness within the schools, parents and students community, especially now that, UGC is also recommending that CUET become the only eligibility criteria for many state and private universities. They're strongly recommending that state and private universities also adopt this. Dr. Acharya, I want to come to you first and ask you this very important question. I mean, you and NPSC have been very vocal critics of CUET, and you've also written to the Union Education Ministry, complaining that this decision has been arbitrary, sudden, and done without consulting schools. If you could briefly tell our audience in your opening comments, what are your main objections?
Yeah, see, no one can negate its immediate appeal of CUET. We are not objecting CUET as such, but the way it is being implemented very hastily this year itself. This 2021-22 batch, they appeared for class 10 boards in 2020, term 1 2021, and again they are going to appear for term 2 in 2022 April. So in the fag end of their session, while they are preparing for their practical exam is continuing and they are preparing for their term 2 exam, announcing another exam retrospectively is not fair. So that's why there is no consultative process at all among the stakeholders. Like when NEP 2020 came, we all were a part of it. I remember as principals, we were part of it. My students were part of it. Parents were consulted. So everybody, all of us have a belongingness to that progressive and transformative document. So in my view, I'm not objecting CUET as such, but it could have been implemented next year while children are mentally prepared and without giving any weightage to class 12 board score. That is the only objection which I have, because now CUET score is the only gateway to get into higher education, to do a course in Delhi University or any other central university based on same NCERT textbook, and it is completely MCQ based, objective based. It may be true for physics, chemistry, and science subjects, but I don't know whether it is really so much applicable to humanities. Like I said, I have got many children who do not have mathematical aptitude, or they were struggling in class 10th. So they had basic maths and left maths, and 11, 12, they were flourishing with their own subjects like psychology, sociology, or whatever subjects they offered for or opted for. Now with CUET third part, which says that general knowledge, current affairs, numerical ability, logical reasoning, analytical skill, all these things, they have to go, even if class 8 standard, they have to go back and refresh. So this last Sunday, I think all of us got a call from the coaching center saying that we have got the April to June package, 3 months package ready. So come, we will refresh for the CUET score, because this is the only gateway to get into good colleges. So what about art integration in curriculum? What about the paradigm shift from content-based to competency-based learning for and as assessment, shifting from rote memorization? Again, we are going back. So in some way, I feel that NEP 2020 is a transformative document, but somewhere we are diluting it. NEP also says that we should not focus on one high-stake board examination. Board examination can be done semester-wise, like this year we are doing, term 1, term 2. What about that? So we are completely negating class 12 examination, project-based, experiential learning, joyful learning, all the best practices.
Dr. Sudha, in your opening remarks, you've raised so many, important issues which perhaps need to be, discussed in detail in separate panel discussions, but we'll try and do justice to them. We'll try and, take some of the points, all very relevant, and we'll try and get, other panelists to comment, and we'll see if we can, discuss at least some of them, if not all of them. Avnita, quickly coming to you. And I want to ask you, what is your own opinion about, CUET? Do you welcome it? Do you think that it's going to reduce student stress, or it's going to be another exam which is going to, in fact, up the antenna of student stress and anxiety?
Yeah. So first of all, I would echo, what Sudha Acharya has said. In fact, in a very comprehensive manner, she's covered most of the concerns that we all are experiencing. I mean, of course, the concept of the idea of having a common entrance test is very welcome. We really needed one, especially in a country which has so many boards and so much diversity, and how do you bring them at par? So definitely that was, so the reasons why we needed a CUET kind of a test. I mean, we're not discounting that. It's an actually the why you need the test is very, very valid. It's just the timing and the suddenness with which it has been announced, which has taken us by absolutely. It's a storm that has been created. Also keeping in mind that this is a batch. We have to remember this particular batch has had 2 years of online classes. They've not had a single year of, offline. So this is the only batch which is, last year, the batch which did class 12, they still had 11th standard they had done offline. Similarly, the ones who are in the 11th going to 12th now would also have 1 more year to prepare for another exam. But this particular class, the class of 22, 23, this class, 2022, which is writing the exam, the class 12 board exam, and will write the CUET, has been particularly hit by the pandemic because they've had no exposure to offline classes at all. And then we've had a change in the pattern of the CBSE board exam. So we've had the multiple choice, semester 1 exams, which again were a paradigm shift again. There was a change in the way we were testing the children. We went back to, in term 2, we said, okay, we will have descriptive questions, subjective tests. Now we go back to a multiple choice test. So, the children at this point of time are struggling with the concept of, writing 2 offline exams, the idea of writing 2 offline exams after doing 2 years of online learning. Okay, that has added to their woes. So I'm a little perturbed about the suddenness and the timing, and how we're planning to implement it. So that's my big concern.
Okay, so we'll take that point up. Roshan, coming over to you quickly now. One of the main concerns. First, of course, I want to have your opening comments on what do you think about the culture, whether it's a good idea. And secondly, I want you to quickly address this whole idea that the role of schools and the importance they play in providing a holistic education to children will be undermined by this exam. That the role of schools is being undermined and they're being shrinked and kind of put into a corner.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much to you and EducationWorld for having me. And I agree very much with the comments of Sudha ma'am and Avnita ma'am, that at the level of principle, the idea is a good one. The direction of travel is a welcome one, to have a centralized test, and it was much needed. But the timing and the method of implementation is very problematic. It's problematic for the reasons that my colleagues have mentioned, and also there are certain other concerns that I would have. That there's not enough clarity yet on the mode of the exam or how it's being prepared. There's a track record in exam preparation, especially at the government level. When it comes to multiple choice question design, that's a whole science which is often omitted when these papers are being made. You end up with, if it's being done in a hurry, you end up with multiple choice questions which are unanswerable, where you have 4 options and 2 options are equally valid and you can't answer the question properly. This kind of thing happens all the time. There's no transparency on what body is preparing the examination, on what basis are they creating these papers. And then even if we sort of leave aside this problem of the suddenness and just think in principle, supposing they had postponed it by a year, even then, what is the relationship between the board exams and this paper? They're saying that there's no, that the board exams will have no role in the admissions process. But actually, there's also a clause which says that the universities can still set a board-based cutoff, and there's no limit to that as far as has been expressed so far. So in theory, Delhi University could still put a cutoff on the board exams of 98% and implement the CUET if they wanted to. But also, the children are going to continue preparing for their board exams because that's what they're doing at school. And that can be based on, CBSE or ICSE curriculum, which could be based on any number of textbooks and methods of getting them through those examinations. And meanwhile, you've got another set of examinations where, it's similar content, and yet it's from another prescribed set of textbooks, from the NCERT textbooks. They're going to have to learn things in a different way. What's the overlap between the 2 sets of learning? None of that is clear. So it's a bit concerning how they've announced this so hastily without answering all these questions. And then coming back to your question about the role of schools in all this, well, that second problem which I've described is calling the role of schools into question to an extent, because the schools have always been focusing on preparing the students for the board exams. Now students' focus might shift to this, and I think schools will be left in a quandary about which one to focus on, or whether they can focus on both at the same time. If one were to put a more optimistic spin on it, however, one could see this CUET as an opportunity, if they develop it in the right way. If they evolve the nature of the examination, it could be that it's an opportunity to introduce a method of examination which is perhaps superior to the traditional board exam method. And that's not what they're announcing now. What it looks like is that the board exams are based on rote learning, and this will also be based on rote learning. However, changing what happens at the board exams is an impossible process, it seems. Changing what happens in this exam might be something that is possible over the next few years, where they could develop questions that are based more on application and understanding, that test skills and competencies, which might be more relevant for university admissions going down the line. So that is a possibility that has opened up, but as I say, right now there's not enough evidence that that is the direction that we're going in.
There's not enough clarity on what you're saying, whether those hopeful things are going to happen. Dr. Habib, I want to come to you now and ask you a very important question. As somebody who's representing a higher education institution, in fact, Delhi University is one of the most sought after universities in India. Do you think that such a kind of common university entrance test takes into account the diversity which is in India, which allows a student to apply to a central university? Because central university by nature has and invites admissions from students from across the country. So the diversity of state boards which are there, and also the autonomy of higher education institutions such as yourself to decide your own admission criteria. I mean, does it take into account all these disparate things?
Not at all. And I want to say that central universities are only 45 in this in our country. There are 45 central universities, and they are actually open to all students. Okay, not all states have central universities there. And actually, central university is not, for example, Delhi University is not only for Delhi Walas, is not only for students from Delhi. And it has to be, in that sense, if you say that CUET will be based on NCRT and CBSE in some sense syllabus, then I think you are disregarding state boards altogether. So right now, for example, Delhi University was open to all state boards and CBSE. We were not to discriminate. The only moderation, for example, we did was that if CBSE has 30-70 breakup between say practical exams and theory, then we arrange the same ratio for other boards exams also. So in some sense, moderating, say some boards were giving 60-40, were maintaining 60-40 ratio, then we rescaled them to 30-70. And I think, that we are looking at we are bringing a bigger problem. We are opening a Pandora's box instead of fixing what needs to be fixed. This whole thing of 100% and all is because, my own personal experience is that as we do badly, more we need funds and everything to improve our health. The governments and the boards find easy way to appease parents and students by giving marks. Teachers are forced to give marks. It is not that the teachers want to give marks, but there is a pressure because you have not even, the classrooms are not there, the tables are not there, the blackboards are not there, you are not bringing best of the teachers, you are hardly paying the teachers, and then you want results. But what the CUET will do is that it will disregard any sense of creativity, anything which schools were trying to do, which teachers were trying to do, which students were trying to do within whatever exists. And to have a centralized exam and to make that compulsory is a bad idea. To have a SAT kind of score where students can show their scores is one thing, but to make the entry only on the basis of CUET is a very bad idea. Delhi University has, our former students have gone everywhere. They are in all the fields and they are doing very well. And we had this criteria based on class 12 performance. To do away with continuous evaluation, to do away with formative evaluation, to do away with practical component is a very bad idea. I do not see any merit in having a centralized test becoming the only criteria. The other thing I want to say is that, we are all watching on social media, everywhere there are advertisements for coaching centers, and before information about parents and teachers and students, coaching centers have reached parents and students. And so what you have done is that only the science stream, which was roughly 1/4 of the class 12, which was forced into, and say students who wanted to take law and all, who were rushing towards coaching. And how parents spent more money on coaching than on schooling, starting from 9th onwards, 9 lakhs, 10 lakhs only on coaching. But that was a small market. Today, government has given the entire set on the platter to the coaching centers. So we will see a boom in coaching centers. We will see that because students will disregard. Why will a student spend hours in practical lab if all of that is not going to count? Why will the students even go for class 11th and 12th, attend classes for internal assessment if they know that nothing of that will count? What will happen is that even schools will start coaching for this. So that's a very bad idea. I mean, education is not about coaching. To teach students to break up, MCQ examination and to actually teach a subject are two different things. And this will be sad. Even
so, I think, Abha, you've raised a very important point of, is uniformity good? I mean, in education, does uniformity mean excellence?
Your question about diversity, see, that diverse boards is one thing, but the government has to view a policy as to what it will do in your socioeconomic situation. And the thing is that who will be left out? Recently we had High Court judgment, the Madras High Court judgment on NEET said that what has these examinations done, entrance exams have done, they have pushed the seats into the pockets of urban population. So the government is blind to the diversity which exists in terms of money, in terms of socio-economic situation of the people. But they are worried about diversity in boards, which can be corrected by bringing people on table and telling them that, you know, there will be a moderation formula, that percentiles will be calculated. Topper of one board is equal to topper of the another board.
I'll come back to you. We'll focus on some of the points you've raised. Let me quickly go to Kulbhushan ji. He's yet to make his opening comments. Kulbhushan ji, what is your take on all this? I mean, you represent these sizable 100,000 budget private schools, which are mostly state board schools, and most of them come from, you know, the northern states of India. I mean, what do they have to say? Do they welcome it? Will it disadvantage their students, which are already, you know, disadvantaged? I mean, most of them could not even have the gadgets as well as internet connectivity to access online classes. For 2 years they've suffered, and now this, you know, cut has been imposed on them. If I can have your views, please.
जी, पहले तो मैं आपका धन्यवाद करना चाहूंगा एजुकेशन वर्ल्ड का और आपका कि आप हमेशा बजट प्राइवेट स्कूल उनके में पढ़ने वाले कंट्री के स्टूडेंट्स की वॉइस बनते हैं और ऐसे मुद्दों को उठाते हैं। और जो आपने मेरे से प्रतिक्रिया जानने की बात कही, तो एक तो ये टेस्ट को अचानक ले लेना, ये शायद इस देश की नीति बन चुकी है, नियति, कि कुछ भी जब काम किया जाता है बड़ा सडन किया जाता है। अभी हमें हरियाणा बोर्ड ने कहा कि हम 8th के बोर्ड के एग्जाम लें, तो अब ये कह रहे हैं कि हम कॉमन टेस्ट लेंगे। हम कॉमन टेस्ट का किसी भी एजुकेशनिस्ट ने विरोध नहीं किया। हम चाहते हैं हर जगह पर समानता, लेकिन ये समानता कहाँ, ये असमानता और बढ़ाने वाली बात कही। जो बजट प्राइवेट स्कूल के स्टूडेंट हैं, अगर इससे पहले हमारे जो पॉलिसी मेकर एक डाटा तो बताएं कि कितने बच्चे कोविड के दौरान स्कूल गए ही नहीं। उन्होंने प्राइवेट बजट स्कूल से गवर्नमेंट स्कूल को शिफ्ट कर दिया क्योंकि वो पैसे नहीं दे सकते थे। सिर्फ ऑन रिकॉर्ड शिफ्ट हुए और ऑन रिकॉर्ड वो पास हो गए, जिनकी संख्या करोड़ों में है। जिन्होंने स्कूल का मुंह नहीं देखा, सिर्फ वो रिकॉर्ड्स में स्कूल ट्रांसफर हुए और स्कूल से प्रमोट हो गए। अब दूसरी बात रही ऑफलाइन या ऑनलाइन की, ना उनको ऑफलाइन तो स्टडीज मिली नहीं, ऑनलाइन उनके पास गैजेट्स नहीं थे, कनेक्टिविटी नहीं थी, तो एजुकेशन से तो वो पहले ही दूर। और लर्निंग लॉस में ये निकल कर आया कि एक बच्चा, खासकर बजट स्कूल्स का बच्चा, जो देश में 80-85% स्कूल हैं, उनका इतना लर्निंग लॉस हुआ। निसा ने भी लर्निंग लॉस पे एक सर्वे जो है जारी किया, जिसमें 2 साल पीछे बच्चे चले गए। अब जो एलीट स्कूल के बच्चे थे, उनके पास सारी फैसिलिटी थी, उनके पास लैपटॉप थे, उनके घर में ट्यूटर्स ने जाके पढ़ाई की। तो ये कहाँ समानता का एक कॉमन टेस्ट की बात, यानी ये असमानता की खाई और बढ़ाने की बात अगर ये कंट्री में की जाए तो शायद कुछ बुरा नहीं लगता। शायद ऐसा होता है और ऐसा होता रहेगा। मुझे लगता है इनको, गरीबों को न्याय मिलने की उम्मीदें बड़ी धूमिल सी होती जा रही जब ऐसी बातें सुनने को खास करके शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में मिल रही है। एक तरफ एडीपी में ये बात कही जा रही है कि बच्चा 12th तक स्कूल में रहेगा, उसको स्किल एजुकेशन दी जाएगी। दूसरी तरफ जब ये इस तरह की कॉमन टेस्ट की बात का मतलब क्या है, डायरेक्ट कोचिंग को प्रमोट करना। मैं आपको साफ सी बात बताऊं, और कोचिंग कौन ले पाएगा? अब ये जैसे कोर्सेज की बात आई कि तुरंत कोर्सेज निकलेंगे कि आप एक शॉर्ट कोर्सेज हम आपको 30 दिन का करवाएंगे, कोचिंग आप क्रैक करेंगे, 50,000 कोई, मैं नाम नहीं लेता आईटी इंडस्ट्रीज के लोगों का, सब जानते कौन कौन सी इंडस्ट्री वाले उतरेंगे, क्योंकि अगर किसी का बात कहना सही बात नहीं होगी, और वो उसकी कॉस्ट क्या होगी, 20,000, 30,000, 50,000। जो स्कूल का पेरेंट 500 रुपए फीस नहीं दे पा रहा, स्कूल के बाद नारे लगा रहा है, गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में शिफ्ट हो रहा है, क्या आप उसको कॉमन टेस्ट के जरिए थ्रू जो है समानता की बात कर रहे हैं? मैं कहता हूँ आज शिक्षकों को बोलने का समय है। जितने भी हम शिक्षक बैठे हैं, रोशन जी, अवनीता जी, सुधा, आचार्य जी, आज बोलने की जरूरत है उस गरीब बच्चे के लिए। उसको से शिक्षा का अधिकार छीनने की बात हो रही है। अगर आपको ऐसा फैसला लेना है तो आपके पास कौन सी इतनी देरी हो रही है? थोड़ा रुक जाइए ना। अच्छी बात है, हम इसका समर्थन कर रहे हैं, हम सहयोग करेंगे। आप बच्चों से भी पहले बात कीजिए, पेरेंट्स से भी बात कीजिए कि आप तैयार हैं। और फिर जब कॉमन टेस्ट ही लेना है, टेस्ट ही लेना है सुमैया जी, इन बोर्ड्स की जरूरत क्या है? पैसा कमाना चाहते हैं आप गरीबों से? अब बोर्ड से भी पैसा लेंगे, टेस्ट से भी पैसा लेंगे, कोचिंग इंडस्ट्री को पैसा कमाएंगे, लूटेंगे भी और लुटवाएंगे भी अपनी जनता को। ये कौन सी थ्योरी है लूटने की और लुटवाने की? और वो भी उस गरीब को जिसको आप राशन मुफ्त दे रहे हैं। इलेक्शन के टाइम पे आप राशन मुफ्त दे रहे हैं, 6 महीने का राशन एक्सटेंड कर रहे हैं, और बदले में उसको कोचिंग परोसना चाहते हैं आप। अदरवाइज वो कैसे टेस्ट क्लियर करेगा? किसको मौका देना चाहते हैं? किसको समानता का अधिकार देना चाहते हैं? बड़ा दुखी होकर निशा तो इस बात को कहीं पर भी बर्दाश्त नहीं करेगी, हर लेवल पे उठाएगी, जरूरत पड़ी तो कोर्ट का भी दरवाजा खटखटाएगी, लेकिन गरीबों के साथ अन्याय नहीं होने देगी।
Thanks, Kulbhushan. Some very valid points you've raised, on behalf of the state board school students, especially students who have been disadvantaged already for 2 years during the pandemic. And they've been now suddenly asked to take the CUT test. It's going to hit them hard. You're absolutely right. Abhinandan, coming over to you, from a student's perspective, what do you make of all this suddenness with which has been introduced? You're preparing for your boards now, and suddenly you get the news that you got to write a common university entrance test. How do you take all this in? What's happening? What's happening in your mind?
So thank you so much, ma'am, for providing me this opportunity to today present my views on this very important topic. Ma'am, I feel there are two important topics that I would like to discuss with everyone present here. Ma'am, first one is the lack of time and lack of preparation that the students have. So ma'am, particularly in this academic year, we were 4 to 5 months into this year when the CBSE announced that this year we are bifurcating the board exams into 2 parts. That is, in the term 1, you will be having an objective-based paper, and in term 2, it would be a subjective paper. So since class 9th, we are studying for board examination in class 10th, then exams in class 11th, then again board examination in class 12th, and we are preparing for an 80-mark paper where we have 1-mark question, 3-mark question, and even 6 or 8-mark questions, right? But in a span of 2 to 3 months, we had to prepare for MCQ-based questions. Now, after these MCQ-based questions are done, since the month of December, say 20th, after 20th December, we are preparing for a subjective-based paper. But today, on March 20th, they are saying that again after 15th June, that is the last paper that CBSE is conducting of psychology, after 15 to 20 days, you have to give CUET, which will again not be a subjective paper, rather a computerized based test, which is again very different from a pen and paper test because the medium is very different, right? So this is a very big disparity that the students are facing in these unprecedented times. And the second major thing that I would like to discuss today is even more important than this. Ma'am, this is about mental health, anxiety, and depression that the students are facing. Ma'am, in these 2 years, all of us would agree that nothing can replace, in-person interaction, right? Like today, all of us would agree that if the 6 of us would be meeting today in a particular place in Delhi or Mumbai, we could have a more fruitful discussion than this we are having on Zoom. Right, we have lost touch with our parents, our colleagues, our friends and teachers we have in our schools and colleges, right? Because of which we are, feeling isolated at our homes, right? And because of which I know many of my classmates, my friends are going through serious problems like depression and anxiety. Now, the thing that is going to trigger here is the concept of dummy schools. Like all of us know, for preparing for major exams like JEE, NEET, students are not attending regular CBSE schools. Rather, their parents, enroll them into dummy schools in Kota, right, where they prepare for JEE. And here, they do not attend schools. They sit at home, they go to coaching centers, and for 8 to 10 hours a day, or even more, say 12 or 14 hours, they are continuously studying for exam. And because of which, ma'am, I would say, this whole concept of CUET certainly would, be a trigger points for such students who are emotionally a bit weaker or at a lower level than the general population. And this is going to give rise to serious mental health problems, mainly in this teenage bracket where, students are hitting the, reaching the age of maturity, hitting the puberty level. So this is a very big issue that the academicians like all of them we have in the panel today need to think about.
Abhinandan, two important points. We'll take them up in our course of discussion.
Yes,
One is the
yes.
paucity of time for preparation and the completely different exam pattern that has been suddenly sprung upon, students to prepare. And the, I think, very, very, very critical aspect of children's mental health. Why are we ignoring them, especially 2 years unprecedented pandemic, and then you're imposing another, common university entrance test upon them, completely unprepared upon children. We'll raise those points in the next half an hour. Sudha, quickly, I want to come to you now. How do you, see now in the next 2-3 months the whole situation panning out? Do you think that you'll be able to convince the government to at least give some weightage to the class 12 boards, or you think this is like a lost battle?
We are trying our best. As I said that I have written a letter to Education Minister, especially Abhinandan, as he said, I have many children, and every day basis we are seeing that how their mental health is being affected in between these 2 years. They have lost their loved ones. They have lost some of them have lost both the parents, grandparents, gone through enough trauma. They have lived through this pandemic. And after that, they have got enough courage to face term 1 and term 2 exams. Somehow we are preparing them for term 1 and term 2. They have gone through that term 1 exam, which is completely new. As Abhinandan said, MCQ based test. But that time also we welcomed it, because all the competitive exams are based on MCQ. Let our children prepare for that. So we gave them enough practice. When again term 2, we are very happy that writing skill, when the school reopened now for the pre-board exam, I can tell you children have lost their writing skill. They don't have speed because they are learning from the books. Online teaching is not the same thing as in-person teaching. So there is a huge learning gap. So somehow they are trying to cope up with term 2, and children are with all sincerity reading for that. So preparing for CUET is completely out of gear again. They don't know what to do, completely confused, because whether to prepare for a board exam which has no relevance now. Delhi University has announced that only 40% in board exam. So children are saying already we have secured 40% in our term 1. So term 2, we just have to clear. So what is the point of studying for term 2? It is meaningless, because one score, that is CUET, which is relevant for them. So we are also confused whether we should prepare them for the CUET exam or for the board exam, So that's enough confusion going on between the teaching fraternity as well as our student community also. So I'm continuously on every channel, on every newspaper. Last 1 month, I'm completely writing continuously. So I don't know what impact we are all making, but maybe our consistent effort by all of us will impact something. And only one thing I want to say, that we are not opposing CUET at all. It may relieve the pressure of children from appearing in 40 entrance tests for different university maybe. That is one relief, but not giving any weightage to board exam is really detrimental to school system. Already, JEE, NEET, CLAT, all these are entrance coaching center based exams. We are telling students as you are exam warriors. Again, we are telling them that enjoy the exam festival. Take exam as a festival. Whether they should take exam as a festival or they are exam warriors, I am completely confused. So, that is the main part. So, little bit trying may be required.
Avnita, this is, in fact, Sudha has raised a very important point, which I want you to, take forward and comment. I mean, why do you need school at all? In fact, a principal I spoke to in the morning, that 2-3 parents have already called her up and told her that, listen, next year, just keep it online, because anyway, they have to write
No, Summiya, I'll just come in 1 minute.
We don't want to send our children to school. They'll stay home and prepare.
They have already written application to me for non-attending, just coming to class 12, and they're saying, ma'am, you already understand 12 board is not meaningful now. So kindly allow our children to be non-attending. They'll be attending coaching and they'll be appearing in school board exam just for the, it is a gateway to appear in the CUET exam. That's already started.
Avnita, what happens to our school education system then? Do we need the class 12 boards at all? Do you need a CBSE board? Do you need them at all?
This takes me back to somewhere. It takes me back to the year 2003. I remember some students coming to my office and saying that, "Ma'am, we don't want to come to school. We don't want to sit in class because we go for coaching. And so what you're doing in class is anyway or a repetition of what we've already learned." And so and students were not wanting to come to school for the CBSE program because they were attending coaching classes outside. And time was a big constraint for them, and the pressure of doing two things in parallel, and it actually forced me to take a decision which I felt was the need of the hour, because it was a felt need of students that could we consolidate the the CBSE syllabus, the exam preparation for class 12 board exam, as well as preparation for JEE. Because as a school, we were not equipped to prepare the student for a competitive exam. And the coaching institute was somewhere supplementing what we were doing in terms of, preparing the students for a board exam. And I'm guilty of the fact that we started the integrated program where we said, okay, so within the school campus, can we give them, a wholesome program? And we also take care of their mental health, because they're still in the school environment, which is a safe environment and a non-threatening environment where teachers can still take care of the children's health. And I'm just wondering, and that was only for the science students, whether it was, the engineering and the medical students. Now it is going to spread across. And what I see, honestly, it's very nauseating for me, the fact that, we have to now tell the children to prepare for an entrance exam, and the the coaching classes, the coaching institutes are going to, have a field day again, as everybody has said. And that's something which, as an educator, I feel really saddened about.
I think that's the thing that, flowing out of our discussion is the only beneficiaries of this entire CUET test seem to be the coaching industry. But Roshan, I want to raise a very important point with you, which, few principles of other non-CBSE boards, especially the ICSE as well as the international school boards have raised with me, is that, the examination is clearly going to be on NCERT books. And as you know, ICSE doesn't use NCERT books, neither do the international boards. And a lot of state boards also don't use it. So is it going to disadvantage this huge chunk of students that want to take this exam? And is it going to be unfair to them?
I believe so, yeah. That is one thing that really worries me, because the ICSE and the international board, and our schools, we follow mostly the ICSE, and we have an international, Cambridge International, IGCSE and A-level section. And both of these, of course, do not use the NCERT books. Now, on one level, maths is maths and biology is biology and whatever. But of course, when you've got a test which is multiple choice and based on factual recall, you have to learn those facts in the way and in the order and the manner that is in a particular set of textbooks. And the kids who have not been exposed to those textbooks are, of course, going to be disadvantaged. And that's a real matter of concern, because the methods and the topic order and the topic content of these different textbooks really does vary. The other interesting thing was that I was reading about the CUET. They have 27 subject options on offer, and part of the CUET test will include subject-specific testing. But of course, there are more than 27 subjects that exist, and so students are going to have to take a proxy subject. So, for example, a student who wants to study biochemistry, there isn't a biochemistry exam, so they'll be taking a biology exam. Now, the alignment between what's in a biology curriculum that the student has been learning up till class 12 and what's in a biochemistry curriculum, or vice versa, is of course not going to be completely there. So students of some subjects are going to be at a huge advantage where they've already been studying the same material in their school. Students of other subjects, or students who are aspiring to study other subjects at university, are going to be at a disadvantage because they've been studying a tangential subject at school, and there's a misalignment between the subject offerings. So that's another reason why certain students might be at a disadvantage compared with others.
All right, okay. Abha, I want to come to you and ask you a very important question, which some few students have raised, is that, the CUET makes it very difficult for you to change streams. Say, for example, the exam very clearly says that the subjects which you take in CUET should be exactly the same which you have studied in your class 11 and 12.
Yeah,
I mean,
and also
what if
the
I want to
allied.
go to a completely different stream? This is like, you're putting again students and into compartments. It's like, a horse with its radar on. You can't go anywhere. What is this happening here?
And the thing is that when the students are making choice in class 10th, they may not be understanding fully what actually they want to be doing. And it is sometimes I tell you that, especially science students, it is the kind of drilling which happens meaningless, that they want to actually escape science, and really they feel liberated if they are able to take humanities, social science courses, or they are able to do English honors. And because the evaluation right now are on allied subjects, if you want to apply for biochemistry, as Roshan was saying, if you want to apply for biochemistry and that paper is not there, then allied subjects, then I think this change will become very difficult. And students, how many exams they want to take, how many out of 27, how many papers they will want to appear is also a question. So this is going to limit also how many coachings you can do. I mean, for all subjects, there will be coachings things. So how many, so all of that is very, very difficult. And right now we had much more flexible system. One thing more, which I want to point out, see, all of this, whether we base our admission on the basis of class 12 performance, or whether we do it on the basis of a entrance exam, these are filters. Now the filters is because many more are aspiring to be part of higher education. बहुत लोग अंदर आना चाहते हैं, और इतनी सीटें सरकारों ने क्रिएट नहीं की. जितनी यूनिवर्सिटीज, जितने स्टेट यूनिवर्सिटीज चाहिए थी, उनकी हेल्थ सुधारनी चाहिए थी, जितनी सेंट्रल यूनिवर्सिटीज या और चीजें खोलनी थी, वो हुआ नहीं है. तो मिलना तो उतने ही लोगों को है, चाहे वो किसी भी आधार के अंदर से आए. एक इंडिविजुअल हो सकता है इस समय स्टूडेंट या पेरेंट इस तरीके से इवैल्यूएट करे, जैसे यूजीसी चेयरपर्सन का भी आया था कि मैं 70% वाला हूं, लेकिन हो सकता है मैं CUET क्रैक कर लूं. These are only, this is the hope on which coaching centers thrive. This is what is told in all ads, but this is not the truth. Not all who will go to the coaching centers are going to get any seat. 23 lakh students enroll for JEE exam. Approximately 10 lakhs, 7 lakhs take these exams, and only 17,000, 20,000 are actually, they become part of IITs. So, I mean, look at the kind of ratio which exists, and similar thing is going to happen. But for undergraduate, it is like over 3 crore students taking admission. 3 crore students are, in university. So the kind of exam we are going to run, and in each bin, how many students will be sitting, what will happen to the cutoffs, which we will announce on the base of the scores, is again a nightmare. The easy thing could have been to call the state boards, to call CBSE, to have a discussion there, or to come up with a formula which would actually normalize their outputs. That should have been done. Instead, we are opening a Pandora box. और मैं बिल्कुल शर्मा जी ने जो यहाँ कहा वो बात बिल्कुल सही है. ये जो आप देख रहे हैं कि अनइक्वल टेरेन है, ये बोर्ड्स के बीच में अनइक्वल टेरेन देखने की बजाय लोगों के बीच में जो इनइक्वालिटी आज के दिन में एग्जिस्ट करती है, उसको ये पॉलिसी कैसे रिस्पॉन्ड करी है उसको देखना चाहिए. और जो गरीब है, जो महिलाएं हैं, क्या उनको कितने कोचिंग, मतलब भाई के लिए कोचिंग करके उसको इंजीनियरिंग तो करवा देगा इस देश में, लेकिन महिलाओं का क्या होगा? मतलब ये बहुत बड़े सवाल हैं. और बिल्कुल पॉलिसी बनाते हुए न कोई सी डाटा का देना, न कोई स्टडी प्रोड्यूस करना, ये बहुत अफसोस की बात है. नीट का जब मद्रास हाईकोर्ट जजमेंट का आ चुका है, तो आप उसको केस स्टडी बनाकर उस पर बात करें और उसके बाद कोई CUET लेकर आए तो मुझे समझ आता है. पर यहाँ तो किसी भी चीज को देखा नहीं जा रहा. ये बहुत अफसोस की बात है, ये बहुत खतरे की बात है.
It's a very important point of the demand supply gap in, especially undergrad higher education. That's going to continue. There are going to be only few quality undergrad colleges in India, and everybody's now going to chase them. So that you're not addressing the supply side. So there is going to continue to remain filters, whether it's a CUET exam or 100% cutoffs. This fundamental problem of increasing the supply of high quality higher education institutions, whether it's in the private sector or government sector, reforming and upgrading your state universities. See, by now from our discussion, it's very clear the government doesn't want to do the difficult job. It wants band-aid solutions. It wants quick fix solutions to every problem, and it expects those quick fix solutions to somehow miraculously transform into NEP and India to become the new education superpower of the world. Let me tell you, it's not going to happen through band-aid solutions. All the countries which have reached education superpower status have done it, have taken the long and hard road of reform. We can't do it overnight through these band-aid solutions. Kulbhushan ji, aap sun rahe hain, the discussion we are having. I mean, how do you see it now? You see it. I mean, your board students now, your private budget school students, कितने almost 60 million है आपके स्कूलों में, budget private schools में. अब ये क्या करने वाले हैं? They have to take the CUET entrance test. There's a possibility state universities भी introduce कर सकते हैं. ये बात चल रही है, क्या होगा? आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही.
मेरे से पहले अभी बहन ने एक बड़ी अच्छी बात कही कि ये महिलाओं के साथ भी एक इनजस्टिस होगा. मैं आपको बिल्कुल सही डाटा दे रहा हूं कि हमारे बजट स्कूल्स पे भी क्या होता है. अगर दो बहन भाई हैं तो बहन जो है वो गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में पढ़ रही है और भाई जो है बजट स्कूल में पढ़ रहा है. उनके पास बजट स्कूल में भी लड़की को पढ़ाने के लिए पैसे नहीं है. जब ये इस समय CUET लगाया जाएगा और कोचिंग का एक और बर्डन आएगा तो जो गरीब परिवार की लड़कियां हैं वो और पिछड़ेंगी. गरीब तो पिछड़ेगा, लड़कियां और पिछड़ेंगी. तो एक तो ये टाइमिंग सही नहीं है. देखिए, हम कॉमन टेस्ट का कभी विरोध नहीं कर रहे, किसी ने विरोध नहीं किया. समानता ठीक है, लेकिन समानता को नीचे से लाना पड़ेगा. अगर आप किसी को ग्राउंड में दौड़ने का मौका देते हैं तो किसी को सिंथेटिक और किसी को जो है वो मिट्टी का ग्राउंड नहीं देंगे. आप दोनों को एक जैसा ग्राउंड देंगे. यहाँ पर डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ स्कूल है, डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ बोर्ड्स हैं, डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ कोविड के दौरान सर्कमस्टांसेस बने हुए हैं. लर्निंग लॉस की सिचुएशन ऐसी है कि एलीट स्कूल को नहीं, एलीट स्कूल के बच्चों का लॉस नहीं हुआ है. इसका मतलब आप दूसरे को अपॉर्चुनिटी से वंचित ही करना चाहते हैं कि आप समानता की बात करके और असमानता पैदा करना चाहते हैं. तो बिल्कुल साफ चीज दिखेगी, ये इनजस्टिस होगा गरीब के साथ, और गरीब के बाद गरीब लड़कियों के साथ बहुत ज्यादा इनजस्टिस होगा, जिनको कहीं पर भी जो है ये डिफरेंट. बिल्कुल ये प्रैक्टिकल बात बता रहा हूँ कि उनके साथ ये चीजें होती. पहले इसके लिए, और दूसरा फिर मैं कह रहा हूँ इस बोर्ड का औचित्य ही क्या है. कॉमन सिविल टेस्ट है, इसकी हम जो है पैरवी करते हैं, लेकिन टाइमिंग गलत है, उसका करने का तरीका गलत है. इस पे सारे एजुकेशनिस्ट को इससे पहले सलाह लेनी चाहिए, बोर्ड्स के साथ बात करनी चाहिए, पेरेंट्स को भी इसमें इन्वॉल्व करना चाहिए, स्टूडेंट्स को भी इन्वॉल्व करना चाहिए और एसोसिएशंस को भी इन्वॉल्व, सभी स्टेक होल्डर इसमें इन्वॉल्व हों और एक तरह का पहले सिलेबस तो बने और उस सिलेबस पे थोड़ी देर काम हो. इतनी जल्दी क्या है? क्या आप ये दिखाना चाहते हैं कि हमने देश में समानता ला दी बिना बात कुछ किए हुए? हमने एक ऐसा टेस्ट लगा दिया, अब सबके साथ समान व्यवहार. तो इन बातों से कोई फायदा होने वाला नहीं है. फिर ये जो एजुकेशन पॉलिसी है इसका भी हश्र वही होगा जो आज तक होता आया है. और दूसरा, जब ये ऐसा टेस्ट लगाना, उससे पहले इंश्योर करना होगा कि +2 तक बच्चा स्कूल अटेंड करेगा. ये नहीं कि उसके बाद वो कोचिंग में बैठा है. ये बिल्कुल ऐसा लॉ आना चाहिए कि अगर स्कूल टाइम पे कोई भी बच्चा कोचिंग में बैठा हुआ है तो उस कोचिंग को इमीडिएट सील कर देना चाहिए, उस पर एक कानून बनना चाहिए. उसके बाद स्कूल आवर्स के बाद, अदरवाइज फिर एनईपी को जो है रद्द कर दीजिए. एनईपी की कोई जरूरत नहीं है, सीधा कीजिए, स्कूल जाने की जरूरत नहीं, किसी बोर्ड की जरूरत नहीं. भाई आप अपनी पढ़ाई अपने आप कर लो, ये एनसीईआरटी का सिलेबस है, आप होम स्कूलिंग करो, आप ट्यूशन करो, आप कोचिंग करो, जैसे मर्जी फिर स्टडीज करें लोग, और +2 के बाद अपना कॉमन टेस्ट जो है उसमें बैठे, जिसके अंदर हिम्मत होगी वो निकल जाएगा. आप एक सिस्टम को ही नकारना चाहते हैं, आप बोर्ड्स को नकारना चाहते हैं, बंद कीजिए ना फिर बोर्ड्स को. काहे को जो मैंने कहा कि आप भी लूटो और कोचिंग भी लूटकर उनको लुटवाओ जनता को, ये तरीका ठीक नहीं है. इस पे बैठकर पूरा ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग होना चाहिए. कॉमन टेस्ट की हम पैरवी करते हैं, लेकिन पहले कॉमन सिलेबस, कॉमन उसको फैसिलिटीज, कॉमन अपॉर्चुनिटीज भी तो प्रोवाइड कीजिए ना. अदरवाइज कैसी समानता होगी? एक बच्चा 1 लाख रुपए फीस दे रहा है, उसके पेरेंट की कैपेसिटी इतनी है, दूसरे के पास 200 रुपए देने के लिए नहीं है. और आप उसको एक समानता की कहते हैं कि हम समानता की बात जो है वो ऑनलाइन एक ऐसे कंप्यूटर के टेस्ट पे बैठेगा जिसने अभी तक कंप्यूटर हाथ पे चला कर नहीं देखा हुआ, कैसे आप समानता का टेस्ट लेंगे? उसके लिए ग्राउंड बनाइए। और एनईपी एक बहुत अच्छी पॉलिसी आपने बनाई, इसका मतलब आप अपनी पॉलिसी को नहीं मानते। लोग स्कूल में आएंगे ही नहीं सुमैया जी। अभी भी ये ट्रेंड चल पड़ा था, अगर एजुकेशन बिल्कुल खुलकर बोले, 6th ऑनवर्ड मैंने कोचिंग सेंटर में बच्चों को जाते देखा हुआ है, स्कूल डमी दे रहे हैं। इतने बुरे हालात पहले ही बने हुए, आप उन हालातों को और वर्ष बनाना चाहते हैं, अराजकता फैलाना चाहते हैं आप शिक्षा के अंदर। इस पे बहुत सही उचित निर्णय, वोकल होके बोलना पड़ेगा, चुप होकर नहीं रहना पड़ेगा। मेरा तो बिल्कुल मानना है हर एजुकेशनिस्ट की ड्यूटी है कि इस पर वोकल और बिल्कुल खुलकर बोले, अपने देश की बच्चों को इस हक को दिलाते।
Sure, thanks. Abha, did you want to make a quick point? Because then
I wanted to say that there are two key things. One is that you should not make class 12th marks redundant. The moment we do that, you are disregarding the continuous work and all of that. And this is not okay. आप स्कूलिंग को ही खत्म कर देंगे, चौपट कर देंगे। तो CUET हो या ना हो, CUET का अलग किस्सा है, वो हो यहाँ पे, क्योंकि बार बार ये कहा जा रहा है कि हम उसके खिलाफ नहीं है, पर इसके खिलाफ होना पड़ेगा कि क्लास 12th को आप डिसरिगार्ड कर दे उसके मार्क्स को। और वैसे भी किसी भी एग्जाम के कई कंपोनेंट इसलिए बनाए जाते हैं कि क्योंकि स्टूडेंट्स अलग अलग जगह से गेन करता है। यहाँ पे आपने एक कॉमन चीज रख दी, एक ही चीज रख दी और स्टूडेंट को उसी एक फिल्टर से जाना है, तो वो एक गलत है। और दूसरी बात यह है कि टू हैव अ सेंट्रलाइज्ड एग्जामिनेशन ऑन बेस्ड ऑन वन सिलेबस इज अगेंस्ट द फेडरल कैरेक्टर ऑफ आवर कंट्री। ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के हिसाब से ये है कि एजुकेशन इज ऑन कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट, इसीलिए स्टेट बोर्ड्स हैं, इसीलिए स्टेट्स अपना डिसीजन लेते हैं। तो CUET को कंपल्सरी करना उस तरीके से भी गलत होगा। ये हो सकता है कि एग्जाम हो, स्टूडेंट अपना स्कोर लेकर आए, उसके लिए कुछ वेटेज हो सकता है, लेकिन आप बिल्कुल इसी को एक चीज माने, इसके खिलाफ तो हमें खड़ा होना पड़ेगा।
Yeah, sure. Abhinandan, what's your any message to the government? Do you want to give on the CUET?
Ma'am, my only message to the government would be that, concerning the aspect and, the thought process of the students, ma'am, I feel that UCET at this point is being rushed through. And, a bit more time could be given to the students. That is, this could come from next year or say 2 to 3 years. Because if I'm not wrong, this concept of CUET was in the pipeline for the past 2 to 3 years, because already there were a lot of critical voices that, many students are scoring 98%, 99%. Still, the cutoffs are going like 100 in some colleges at TU, right? So this was in the pipeline. I feel this could wait for another few years, because this time it is very critical, because students like me, like I'm in humanities, I'm already preparing for CLAT examinations. So I am, familiar with the process of logical reasoning, analytical reasoning, current affairs, general knowledge and all. But a majority of my classmates who are still preparing for those subjective papers, who are not up to date with those current affairs, they don't know how to solve questions related to analytical reasoning, where we have, say, permutation and combinations as well. So these students who are, equally bright, equally capable, they might miss out on an opportunity to, go to a university that comes in the topmost bracket of our country. So this is my only message to the government and at this point.
They don't have it this year. So now quickly, if I can have your closing comments, 1 minute each to my panelists. And if you could, in your closing comments, keep it short and address the way forward, and perhaps, give one solution. And also, if one of you all can address, one of the questions is also, which I'm seeing coming on our Facebook live page, is also the drop in educational standards and encouraging this constant MCQ culture. What does that happen to, education standards? So one of you all can also take that question, but quickly, 1 minute each. We are running late. Dr. Acharya, first to you, and then we'll follow the same order.
I'll take up that question that based on MCQ, so we are one in talking about writing skill and all those things, and these MCQ may be correct for sciences, but for commerce and humanities, how do you really evaluate and assess through MCQ? That is not possible. So children will only be preparing for MCQ based then they'll lose all their writing skill and all. My only point is that, can we bring in some holistic solution, like we are talking about diversity background or different boards? Can we rationalize, instead of working on these CUET, if we can bring in all the boards and bring in uniform curriculum, and 100% 499 out of 500, if we can rationalize that kind of score, work on it, and then bring in CUET maybe next year or next to next year, then it may be implemented in a rationalistic way. But such a hasty manner it is going to be implemented, it will affect and it will disrupt completely the educational scenario, both for teaching fraternity and student fraternity. So in my view, CUET, we are not negating the process, but it should be implemented properly after having consultative process with all the stakeholders.
Okay, great. Avnita, quickly to you now, if you can just give your closing comments.
Yeah, so if we have to take a cue from, universities abroad, and they look at the SATs as one of the parameters for, admission into a good university, I think CUET could be one of the parameters along with many others for us to keep the balance in terms of educational standards that we want to provide to our children.
Okay, great. Roshan, to you, your closing comments.
Well, let us be hopeful. Let us hope that they will see some sense in postponing this thing after engaging in a consultative process and then considering doing this next year in a much better manner. Let us hope that the centralization, if we must have it, will be taken as an opportunity then to test a broader range of skills and not just another way of testing textbook knowledge.
Okay, great. Abha, to you, I mean, universities have their own choice.
Yeah, I agree with Avnita, as she has said that SAT is only one of the parameters, and I feel actually that centralization is not a good idea. See, the state boards की जरूरत नहीं थी तो नहीं होते, और ये जरूरी है कि उनका जो करिकुलम है, जो सिलेबस है, वो थोड़ा अलग हो, अपनी जगह को साथ लेते हुए हो. अगर वो लिटरेचर पढ़ रहा है या वो थोड़ा चीजें चेंज हो सकती हैं. सेंट्रलाइजेशन गलत है, बट नॉर्मलाइजेशन हो सकता है. जो बोर्ड्स का रिजल्ट है, एक बोर्ड का टॉपर शुड बी इक्वल टू board ka topper of another board. So topper of another board. So normalization, can we come up with that formula to normalize marks output of the boards? So I think that is one solution which will not burden students with another round of test. It will also not give coaching centers everything on the platter. Otherwise, we have already said that it is actually fillip to the coaching market, whereas the coaching centers were right now hovering over 1/3 students. Now you have given them crores of students on the platter, and this basically filter will leave out the most marginalized sections of our society. So CUET is not a solution.
Kulbhushan ji, आपके closing comments?
सुमैया जी, देखो मैं कहना चाहता हूँ कि अभी कोविड के दौरान हिंदुस्तान ऑनलाइन टेस्ट भी नहीं ले पाया, अब बच्चों को वैसे ही पास कर दिया. अब कह रहे हैं कि डेजिग्नेटेड सेंटर बनाकर जो है सभी का ये कॉमन टेस्ट लिया जाएगा. अभी ये कोविड के दौरान इतनी कैपेबिलिटी कहाँ से आ गई कि पहले हम स्कूल में बैठकर भी एग्जाम नहीं ले पाए 10th और 12th, और अब कह रहे हैं कि भी हम एकदम जो है पूरी दुनिया को ही जीत लेंगे. ऐसे हालात हिंदुस्तान दिखा रहा है, इतनी ताकत दिखा रहा है. मैं कह रहा हूं कि हम किसी टेस्ट के किसी भी चीज के खिलाफ नहीं है, लेकिन आफ्टर कंसल्टेशन विद बोर्ड्स एंड ऑल स्टेक होल्डर्स में बच्चों को भी, और बच्चों में भी सिर्फ एलीट स्कूल्स के बच्चे नहीं, आप बजट स्कूल्स के बच्चों से बात कीजिए, आप गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स के बच्चों से बात कीजिए. जो देश के 80-90% स्टूडेंट्स हैं उनसे एक बार बात तो कीजिए ना, वो आपको बात तो बताएंगे. आज भी बसों के पीछे गवर्नमेंट के स्लोगन रखे हुए हैं मैम कि पापा जी मुझे ला दो एक किताब, आप मत पियो शराब. तो वो कह रहे हैं मुझे किताब ला दो, और हम उनसे लैपटॉप और उनके कहते हैं डेजिग्नेटेड सेंटर में जाकर वो जो है एग्जाम दे के कोचिंग लेंगे, उनके लिए एजुकेशन महंगी करने की और दूर करने की बात कर रहे हैं. बड़ी चिंता का विषय है कि जो भी करें आफ्टर कंसल्टेशन विद होल स्टेक होल्डर्स एंड होल इंडिया, हर एक वर्ग, सबसे निचले वर्ग से बात कर, आप किसी भी बात को करना चाहे हम आपके साथ तैयार हैं.
Okay, great. Thank you, all my wonderful panelists. I think we've had a very interesting discussion on a very, very, very important subject, which is going to affect the future of over 12 million students who are currently in, class 12. It's going to affect their futures. And I think we are more or less agreed that, the CUET needs to be postponed this year under the present circumstances of a, education system that is recovering from an unprecedented pandemic and the longest education lockdown of the world, which is 82 weeks. Such an exam cannot be imposed upon either schools, institutions, or students. And secondly, I think a larger solution of addressing this parallel systems of education which we are creating, which is a school education system and a coaching system, that we need some long-term solution. And in fact, the NEP talks about, reducing the coaching culture, but this one nation, one test idea and one nation, one syllabus seems to, negate what the real intent of NEP 2020 is. And most importantly, I think the message of our panel to the government is that consult stakeholders. Do not, unfortunately, the past precedent of the government, whether it's the farmers bill, etc., has been, railroad everything through parliament, railroad everything through ordinances. Don't consult stakeholders. Any examination or any decision or anything which concerns the future of millions of students has to be done through a consultative process. It cannot be done arbitrarily and suddenly, because at stake, like I said, is the future of our children. And if the future of our children is at stake, then the country has no future. With that, I'd like to thank my wonderful panelists, Dr. Acharya, Avnita, Dr. Habib, Roshan, Abhinandan, and Kulbhushan ji. Thank you. We will continue to take this conversation forward, and we look forward to interacting with all of you all again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Summiya ji. Thank you.